Have you ever heard of a king who plowed his own fields? Not as a publicity stunt, but as a deep spiritual practice. A king who ruled a prosperous kingdom, yet was known more for his wisdom than his wealth. A ruler whose court was filled with the greatest sages of his time, all vying to answer his profound questions about the nature of reality. This is the story of a philosopher king, a man who bridged the gap between worldly duties and spiritual enlightenment. His name was Janaka, the revered king of Videha. Imagine a kingdom where the ultimate prize wasn't gold or territory, but knowledge. A place where the ruler himself was the most eager student. King Janaka's story isn't just a tale from ancient India. It's a timeless lesson in leadership, wisdom, and the search for truth. He was a king who possessed everything a person could desire: prestige and prosperity. Yet he constantly sought something more, something deeper. He famously declared, "Even if my entire capital Mithila were to burn down, nothing of mine is lost." What did he mean? How could a king be so detached from his own kingdom? Stick around as we unravel the life and philosophy of this extraordinary monarch, a man who was both a powerful king and an enlightened master. We'll journey back to an era of great sages and epic debates, and discover the secrets of King Janaka, the man who knew the self. King Janaka, also known as Janaka of Mithila, is one of the most revered figures in Indian spiritual traditions. While pinning down exact historical dates for figures from this ancient period is challenging for historians, the traditions place him in the epic era, around the 8th or 7th century BCE. He wasn't just a single person, but a title for the kings of the Videha kingdom, whose capital was Mithila, located in modern Janaka in Nepal, and parts of Bihar in India. The Janaka we are talking about, the one famous for his wisdom, is most prominently featured in the Upanishads and the epic Ramayana. His story begins not with a grand prophecy, but with a simple, profound act. While performing a yajna, a ritual plowing of the land to sanctify it, his plow struck a golden casket buried in the earth. As he opened it, he discovered a beautiful baby girl inside. Believing her to be a divine gift from Bhumi Devi, the earth goddess, he named her Sita, which means Pharaoh. He adopted her and raised her as his own beloved daughter. This single event would set in motion a chain of events that would shape the course of the epic Ramayana. As Sita's father, Janaka played a pivotal role in the story of Rama, but his own legend is just as captivating. King Janaka was a Rajarshi, a combination of Raja meaning king, and Rishi meaning sage. He perfectly embodied this dual role. He managed the affairs of his kingdom with great skill and justice, ensuring his people were happy and prosperous. Mithila, under his rule, was renowned not just for its material wealth, but as a vibrant center of learning and spiritual discourse. Janaka actively fostered an environment where knowledge was the highest currency. He would invite the greatest scholars, philosophers, and sages from all over the land to his court for debates on the most profound questions of existence. His court was a crucible of intellect and spirituality. Think of it as the ultimate ancient thing, but Janaka wasn't a passive observer. He was an active participant, a seeker of the highest order. His questions were not about politics or warfare, but about the nature of Brahman, the ultimate reality, and Atman, the individual self. He wanted to understand the connection between them, the very essence of life and liberation. He was a student king, humble enough to learn from anyone who held true knowledge, regardless of their status. One of the most famous stories, illustrating his thirst for knowledge, is his interaction with the great sage Yajnavalkya, detailed in the Brihadaranyaka. King Janaka organized a massive philosophical congress, offering a grand prize of 1,000 cows, each with 10 gold coins tied to its horns, to the wisest sage who could claim the title of Brahman, the knower of Brahman. Many great sages were present, but none dared to claim the prize in the presence of others. Then, the sage Yajnavalkya calmly told the student to drive the cows home. This bold move sparked outrage among the other scholars. What followed was an incredible intellectual showdown. One by one, the sages, including the brilliant female philosopher Garjiva, challenged Yajnavalkya with complex metaphysical questions. What is the ultimate reality upon which everything is woven? Back and forth, they asked. Yajnavalkya answered every question with profound clarity and insight, systematically defeating all his challengers. Throughout this intense debate, King Janaka listened with rapt attention, not just as a patron, but as a dedicated student. In the end, it was clear that Yajnavalkya was indeed the wisest, but for Janaka, the prize wasn't the spectacle. It was the wisdom that was shared. He became Yajnavalkya's devoted disciple, and their dialogues form some of the most important teachings in Hindu philosophy. Another telling story is about the young sage Ashtavakra. Born with 8 physical deformities, Ashtavakra arrived at Janaka's court. Seeing his twisted body, the court scholars laughed. Unfazed, the young sage laughed even louder. When Janaka asked him why he was laughing, Ashtavakra replied, "I thought this was an assembly of wise men, but I see it as an assembly of cobblers who only see the skin, not the soul within." Struck by his wisdom, Janaka immediately bowed to him and asked to be his student. The dialogue that followed between them is captured in the text known as the Ashtavakra Hita, a profound treatise on non-duality and the nature of the self. This incident shows Janaka's incredible humility and his ability to see beyond superficial appearances, recognizing wisdom even in the most unexpected form. King Janaka's life was a testament to the principle of karma yoga, the path of selfless action. He demonstrated that one does not need to renounce the world and retreat to a forest to achieve spiritual liberation. He lived in a palace, ruled a kingdom, and fulfilled all his worldly duties as a king, a husband, and a father. Yet, internally, he remained completely detached, a master of his own mind. He was Videha, which literally means without a body or body. This name for his dynasty perfectly described his state of being. He lived in the world, but was not of the world. He experienced everything, but was attached to nothing. This brings us back to his famous statement, "If Mithila burns, nothing of mine is lost." This wasn't arrogance or a cat. It was the ultimate expression of enlightenment. He had realized that his true self, the Atman, was separate from his physical possessions, his royal status, and even his own body and mind. He understood that these were all temporary, while the self was eternal and unchanging. He performed his duties with utmost diligence, not because he desired the fruits of his actions, but because it was his dharma, his righteous duty. This is the essence of being a karma yogi. His legacy is most famously cemented in the Ramayana through the Swayamvara of his daughter, Sita. To find a worthy husband for her, he set an incredible challenge. The suitor had to lift and string the Sibadhanusha Pinaka, the divine bow of Lord Shiva, which was an ancient heirloom of his family. Kings and princes from far and wide came to Mithila to try their luck, but none could even move the colossal bow. Its sheer weight and power were beyond the might of ordinary men. Then, a young prince from Ayodhya Rama stepped forward. With seemingly little effort, he not only lifted the bow, but broke it in two while stringing it, the sound echoing like thunder across the land. Janaka knew he had found the perfect match for his divine daughter. His joy was immeasurable, not just as a father, but as a king who had fulfilled his sacred duty. Throughout the epic, Janaka remains a figure of serene wisdom. When Rama is exiled to the forest for 14 years, and Sita decides to go with him, Janaka offers his counsel. His face calm and composed even in the face of his daughter's impending hardship. He understood the bigger picture, the unfolding of a divine plan. His detachment was not coldness, it was a deep understanding of dharma and destiny. King Janaka's life story eventually comes to a close, as all mortal lives do. The scriptures don't provide a specific date or dramatic account of his death. Instead, he is believed to have achieved Videha Mukti, liberation while still in the body, and seamlessly transitioned from his physical existence, his soul merging with the ultimate consciousness, Brahman. His end, like his life, was not an event of sorrow but a culmination of a lifelong spiritual journey. He simply dissolved back into the source from which he came. So, what can we learn from King Janaka today? In a world obsessed with material success, his story reminds us that true wealth is knowledge of the self. In an age of distraction, his life teaches us the power of focus and inquiry. For leaders, he is the ultimate model of servant leadership and integrity, ruling not for personal gain but for the welfare of his people. He shows us that spirituality isn't separate from our daily lives. We don't have to choose between worldly responsibilities and a spiritual path. We can be a dedicated professional, a loving family member, and a sincere spiritual seeker, all at the same time. King Janaka's life is a beautiful blueprint for living a balanced, meaningful, and enlightened life, right here, right now. He proved that a palace can be as conducive to enlightenment as a mountain cave, as long as the search for truth burns brightly within. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the life of the philosopher King Janaka. If you found his story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of wisdom from across the world. Let me know in the comments what you think is the most important lesson from King Janaka's life. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking.